What if the greatest battle of your life isn't happening outside you, but inside your own mind? What if the enemy isn't the world, but the endless storm of thoughts whispering you're not enough, you'll never win, you can't change? Every second your mind speaks, 1,000 voices pulling you toward fear, regret, and chaos. But what happens when you finally decide to take back control? Imagine standing at the edge of your own consciousness, staring into the noise, the doubts, the memories that haunt you, and realizing you are not your thoughts. They do not own you. They do not define you, unless you let them. This is not just another self-help book. This is your awakening, a journey into the unseen world of your inner dialogue, where power, peace, and clarity are waiting to be reclaimed. From the brilliant mind of author's name, this is Stop Your Thoughts from Controlling You, because the real freedom begins when your thoughts finally obey you. Now, let's begin the audiobook. If you are ready, let me open the very first page of this journey. Chapter 1: The Battle Within. Every day, your thoughts wake up before you do. Before your eyes even open, they whisper, "You're late, you're not enough, you'll mess this up again." You lie there, half awake, already under attack, not from the world, but from your own mind. The truth is, most people never notice this battle. They think stress comes from their boss, or their spouse, or their past. But what if I told you that the real enemy is much closer? That every thought is a soldier, and depending on who commands them, they can either protect you or destroy you. Let's take a moment to imagine something. Imagine standing in a silent room. All around you are screens, each showing one of your thoughts. Some flash memories of regret, others replay old mistakes, and a few whisper warnings about the future. You can't turn them off. You can't escape them. They follow you everywhere, into your work, your relationships, even your sleep. That, my friend, is the battle within. When you understand this, something changes. You begin to see that life doesn't happen to you, it happens through you, and your thoughts are the lens through which you experience it. But here's the dangerous part. Your mind doesn't always tell the truth. It tells stories, it exaggerates, it predicts, it invents fears that never come true. And yet, you believe it. You believe the voice that says you can't change. You believe the whisper that says you're not good enough. You believe the echo of the past, you'll fail again. But what if that voice isn't really you? What if it's just a shadow, a habit of thinking that's been repeated for so long it feels like truth? Every human being carries two minds. One is the reactive mind, fast, emotional, impulsive. It screams, it panics, it blames. It tells you to run when you should stay, to doubt when you should believe, to fear when you should act. The other is the conscious mind, calm, aware, awake. It watches quietly. It doesn't rush to judgment. It doesn't fight or flee. It observes. It understands. It's the part of you that knows you're thinking. When these two minds are out of balance, chaos begins. Your thoughts start controlling your actions. Your emotions become storms instead of signals, and you start living on autopilot, reacting, not creating. Have you ever driven somewhere and realized you don't remember how you got there? That's what happens when your thoughts take over. You're physically present, but mentally absent, lost in an invisible stream of mental chatter. You replay conversations, imagine worst-case scenarios, criticize yourself for things that never even happened. And that's exactly how thoughts gain control, through repetition and invisibility.
They hide in plain sight, repeating the same patterns, shaping your personality, dictating your moods, until you start believing that's just who you are. But it's not who you are. It's who you've been told to be by your own unexamined thoughts. To regain control, you must first see clearly. Notice when a thought enters. Ask yourself, is this thought serving me or sabotaging me? Because every thought has an energy. It either expands you or shrinks you. And your awareness is the sword that cuts through illusion. So pause, breathe. Right now, as you listen, notice what your own mind is saying. Is it agreeing, arguing, wandering? That right there, that voice, is the one that's been controlling you. You can't fight what you don't see. You can't change what you don't understand. That's why the first victory in this battle is not against your thoughts. It's the moment you realize you are not your thoughts. When you truly grasp that, something magical happens. You begin to detach. You begin to watch your thoughts instead of being dragged by them. It's like stepping out of a storm into a clear sky. You see the clouds move, but you are not the clouds. You are the sky. And in that realization lies the ultimate freedom. Because once you know that thoughts are just passing clouds, not permanent truths, you gain power. Power to choose, power to redirect, power to create peace in the middle of chaos. But beware, the mind won't give up control easily. The moment you try to silence it, it gets louder. It will tempt you with fears, doubts, distractions. It will whisper, "You're wasting your time. You can't change this." That's when you must stand tall, not by fighting your thoughts, but by observing them without fear, by saying, "I see you, thought, but I don't have to believe you." That is the first act of mental rebellion, the first step towards peace. And so the battle begins not outside, but within, a war between your awareness and your automatic mind, a war that decides whether you live freely or as a prisoner of your own thinking. The question is, will you take command of your mind, or will your thoughts continue to rule your life in silence? Because in the next chapter, you'll meet the real enemy, the voice that lies, the voice that wears your tone, uses your memories, and pretends to be you. But it's not.
Chapter 2. The Voice That Lies. Have you ever noticed that the voice in your head sounds exactly like you, yet constantly works against you? What if the greatest liar in your life isn't someone else, but your own inner voice, whispering softly in the dark? It begins quietly. That inner voice that comments on everything you do. When you wake up late, it murmurs, "You're lazy." When you fail at something, it sighs, "Of course you did." When someone compliments you, it laughs, "They don't really mean it." You see, this voice doesn't shout, it persuades. It doesn't fight, it manipulates. And before you know it, you're not just hearing it, you're believing it. This is the voice that lies, a creation of your past experiences, fears, and unresolved emotions. It's not your enemy by nature, but it's become corrupted by years of conditioning, by every criticism, every rejection, every wound that was never healed. The mind, in its effort to protect you, builds this voice like a shield, but over time, that shield becomes a prison. It tells you not to try, not to risk, not to believe, because it fears pain. And so it convinces you that safety is better than growth. When you were a child, this voice might have sounded like someone you trusted, a parent, a teacher, a friend, someone whose words carried weight. They might have said, "You're not smart enough," or "You always mess things up." And your young mind, still soft and open, accepted those words as truth. Years later, that voice no longer needs them. It has learned to speak on its own.
Now it lives inside you, repeating the same message in your own tone, so it sounds familiar, even comforting. But make no mistake, it is not you. This voice is clever. It disguises self-doubt as logic. It uses your intelligence to justify your fears. It says things like, "I'm not ready yet. Maybe it's not the right time. I'll start when I feel more confident." It sounds reasonable, but its real purpose is to keep you small, silent, and safe. Think about how many dreams this voice has stolen from you, how many opportunities it has talked you out of, how many moments of courage it's drowned under waves of hesitation, all because you thought it was you speaking. But here's the truth few ever realize. Your thoughts are not your commands, they are suggestions. And your inner voice is not a prophet, it's a reflection of old beliefs, past pain, and unexamined patterns. It's like a recording that keeps playing until you press stop. And once you start listening consciously, you begin to hear the difference between your real self and the false voice. The real self says, "Let's try." The false voice says, "What if we fail?" The real self says, "We can learn." The false voice says, "We're not good enough." The real self whispers, "You are more than this." The false voice argues, "You'll always be the same." Every thought, every feeling, every hesitation becomes a fork in the road. One path leads to awareness. The other leads to control, the kind where thoughts rule you like an invisible king. Let's do a small experiment. Right now, close your eyes and imagine this. You're standing in a quiet room. In front of you is a large mirror. You look into it, but the reflection starts talking back. It repeats your doubts, your regrets, your fears like a haunting echo. Would you argue with the reflection? Would you let it decide who you are? No, you'd simply realize it's just an image. That's what the voice in your head is, a reflection of thought, a shadow on the mirror of your mind. And just like any reflection, it disappears when you turn away from it. The secret is not to silence the voice, but to see it for what it is. You don't fight a lie with anger, you expose it with truth. When that voice whispers, "You'll never change," say gently, "I already am." When it says, "You'll fail again," reply, "Failure is how I grow." When it says, "You can't," smile and say, "Watch me." Each time you answer back with awareness, the voice loses a little power. Each time you respond instead of react, you reclaim a piece of your freedom. Because the mind's greatest weapon is deception, but its greatest weakness is awareness. Remember this, a thought only controls you if you believe it. It only becomes real when you feed it with attention. The moment you question it, the moment you shine the light of awareness on it, it begins to dissolve. Your thoughts are not facts. They are stories waiting for an author to rewrite them, and you are that author. But before you can rewrite your story, you must break free from the walls that hold it in place, the invisible patterns that trap your mind in repetition. Because what if the real reason your thoughts keep controlling you is that you've been unknowingly living inside a mental prison built by the voice itself? In the next chapter, you will walk into that prison. You will see the bars, you will feel the walls, and you will finally understand how you've been trapped, not by others, but by your own mind.
Chapter 3: The Mind's Prison. What if you've been living inside a prison your entire life? A prison with no walls, no guards, and no locks, yet impossible to escape? What if the cell that holds you captive is made of your own thoughts? Close your eyes for a moment. Imagine a small, dimly lit room. The air is thick, the walls are cold. You can hear the echo of your own breathing. But here's the strange part. The door is wide open. Still, you never leave.
That's the tragedy of the mind's prison. It's not built by society or by circumstance or even by other people. It's built by you. Brick by brick, thought by thought, with fear, doubt, and false belief as the cement that holds it together. Every "I can't," every "I'm not enough," every "it's too late" becomes another wall. And before you realize it, you're surrounded, living a life smaller than your potential, tighter than your dreams. But how does this prison form? It begins with a pattern, the repeating thoughts that shape your reality. Psychologists call it neural conditioning. You think a thought once, it's nothing. You think it 1,000 times, it becomes a pathway. And soon your mind starts walking that same path automatically. You don't even need to think consciously anymore. The pattern runs itself. You wake up anxious, you respond defensively, you expect disappointment before anything even happens. It's not because life is cruel, it's because your mind has memorized the root of suffering. The scariest part? Most people decorate their prison. They hang pictures of comfort on the walls, distractions, routines, excuses to make it feel like home. They say, "That's just who I am." They say, "That's life." But deep down, something inside them knows, this isn't freedom. You can feel it, can't you? That faint ache, the part of you that whispers, there must be more than this. That whisper is not weakness, it's your true self, calling out behind the bars. Think about how often you stop yourself before even trying. You dream of something, a new career, a relationship, a bold step forward. But before you act, your thoughts rush in. What if I fail? What if people judge me? What if I lose everything? Fear builds the bars, doubt tightens the locks, and the mind says, "See, you're safe here, don't risk it." But what it calls safety is actually stagnation. What it calls comfort is control. The prison protects you from failure, yes, but it also protects you from growth. Here's the secret the mind doesn't want you to know. You were never trapped. The walls were always made of thought, and thought is vapor. The moment you see that, the illusion starts to crack. Awareness is the light that reveals the bars aren't real. When you shine it long enough, the walls begin to fade. The problem is, most people never shine that light long enough. They glimpse the truth, feel hope rising, and then the voice from the last chapter returns. "This is pointless. It won't work. You've been like this too long." And so they retreat. They sit back down on the cold floor of their cell, convincing themselves it's not so bad. But you are listening now, and that means something inside you is waking up. You've begun to notice that your thoughts are not commands, they're habits, they're loops, and every loop can be broken. The key lies in awareness and interruption. You must catch the thought the moment it tries to build another wall. You must say, "Wait, is this truth or just memory?" When you start questioning your thoughts, you begin dismantling the structure of the prison itself, one wall at a time, one belief at a time, until you see the open door that's been there all along. Here's a practical image. Imagine every thought as a drop of paint. Each time you think, "I can't," you add another dark stroke on the canvas of your life. But when you begin to replace those thoughts with awareness, "I see this doubt. I choose differently. I am not my fear," you start painting over the darkness with light. Soon, the picture changes, your energy changes, your life changes. Because the world doesn't imprison you, your interpretation of it does. Still, the mind will resist. It will whisper, "If you leave this prison, what will happen? Who will you be?" And that question, that fear of the unknown, is the final lock on the gate. Freedom requires courage. It requires the willingness to step into uncertainty, to walk through that open door without knowing what's next, only trusting that your awareness will guide you. That's how you escape. not by fighting the mind, but by walking past it. When you begin to live beyond thought, life becomes vivid again. Colors seem brighter, moments feel deeper. You start noticing the present, the texture of air, the warmth of light, the sound of your own breath. You realize that this moment right here is the only reality that ever existed. Everything else was just noise in the prison. And that is where your transformation begins, in the realization that freedom was never outside of you. It was always inside, waiting to be remembered. But now comes the hardest part of all. Escaping the prison is only the first step. Because even after you leave, your mind will try to pull you back, replaying the same loops, dragging you toward the same patterns. And unless you learn how to break those loops permanently, you might find yourself walking in circles, thinking you're free, when in truth, you're still trapped. In the next chapter, you will discover how to stop those loops, the repeating thoughts that recreate the same pain again and again. You will learn to shatter the cycle and reclaim the power of your own mind.
Chapter 4. Breaking the Loop. Why do we keep reliving the same moments, making the same mistakes, feeling the same pain? What invisible force pulls us back into the same mental loops, no matter how much we try to change? It's a haunting truth. Most people don't live new lives. They live the same day, the same thoughts, the same emotions, again and again, just with different faces, different places, different names. You might wake up with a spark of hope, ready to start fresh, and yet by afternoon, the same old worries return. The same inner voice whispers, "See, nothing ever changes," and slowly the loop begins again. This is the cycle of thought, the repeating pattern of mental and emotional habits that keeps you trapped even when you think you're moving forward. Here's how it works. A thought triggers a feeling. That feeling reinforces the thought, and that combination produces an action or inaction that brings you right back to the same place. Let's say you think, "I'm not good enough." That thought makes you feel anxious. That anxiety causes hesitation, so you don't try. Then when you fail to act, your mind says, "See, I told you so," and the cycle tightens like a noose. You start mistaking familiarity for truth. Just because a thought feels real, you assume it is real. But reality isn't what feels familiar. Reality is what happens when you step beyond the familiar. Your mind loves patterns. It's built to repeat. The brain is efficient. It automates anything that's done often. So if you've worried for 10 years, it becomes a habit. If you've doubted yourself for 20, it becomes a default setting. That's why you can't think your way out of overthinking. You have to break the loop through awareness and redirection. Imagine your thoughts as a wheel spinning in mud. The more you push, the deeper it sinks. But when you stop struggling, step out and look at the wheel, only then do you realize you were free to step away the whole time. The first step to breaking the loop is noticing the trigger. What starts your mental spiral? A word? A look? A memory? Every loop has a starting spark, and once you see it, you can stop feeding it. The second step is interrupting the pattern. Do something unusual the moment the loop begins. Take a breath, stand up, say out loud, "I am not this thought." That interruption, that brief moment of awareness, breaks the circuit. It's like pulling a plug from a machine that's been running for years. Even a 1-second pause creates space for choice. And in that space, you reclaim your power. Because power is not control, it's awareness. When you notice the loop, you are no longer in it, you're watching it. You become the observer instead of the prisoner. Have you ever noticed how thoughts lose strength the moment you observe them clearly? That's because thoughts need unconsciousness to survive. They feed on your automatic reactions, but when you bring them into the light of attention, they crumble.
The loop's strength comes from your belief that it's you. But when you say, this is just a pattern, the spell breaks. Let's go deeper. Every loop has an emotional fuel. For some, it's fear. For others, guilt, anger, or regret. If you remove that fuel, the loop can't run. So instead of fighting the thought, address the feeling beneath it. Ask, what emotion keeps this alive? And when you feel it fully, when you allow it to rise without judgment, it dissolves. Emotions are energy in motion. They only stay stuck when resisted. But the moment you allow them, you set them free, and the loop weakens. Here's something powerful to remember. Your thoughts recycle, but your awareness renews. Thoughts are echoes of yesterday. Awareness belongs to now. The loop always drags you into the past or the future, replaying what was or worrying about what might be. But awareness anchors you in the present, where the loop has no power. So the next time you find yourself spinning, say softly, I return to now. I am the watcher, not the wanderer. You'll notice something miraculous. The storm quiets, the noise softens, and in that stillness, you remember who you really are. Still, breaking the loop is not a one-time act. It's a practice. The mind will test you again and again. It will tempt you back into your old rhythm because repetition feels safe. But every time you choose awareness over reaction, silence over chaos, truth over habit, the loop loses another link. And one day the chain snaps completely. That's the day you wake up and feel light. Not because your life is perfect, but because your thoughts no longer rule you. So remember this formula. Notice, interrupt, feel, release, repeat. That's how you break the loop, not by controlling thoughts, but by no longer identifying with them. Because freedom isn't found in fighting the storm. It's found in realizing you were the sky all along. But this freedom, this awareness, it begins with something even deeper. A moment when you stop running from your thoughts and start watching them. When you stop reacting and start observing. That's where your transformation truly begins. And in the next chapter, you will discover the first doorway to that awareness, the moment when you finally see your thoughts as they are, without fear. In Chapter 5, you will hold the first key, awareness, the awakening that changes everything.
Chapter 5. Awareness, the first key. What if the first step to freedom wasn't fighting your thoughts, but seeing them? What if all your struggles could dissolve in a single moment of pure awareness? Awareness, it sounds so simple, almost too simple. But simplicity is where truth hides. Because the mind loves complexity. It feeds on confusion. It tells you to analyze, to solve, to control. And yet, the more you struggle, the tighter its grip becomes. So today, we stop struggling. We stop fighting. And instead, we begin to see. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine this. You are sitting beside a calm, still lake. The surface is glassy, untouched. Then a single pebble, a thought, drops into it. Ripples form. Circles expand outward, distorting the reflection. Now, most people spend their entire lives chasing those ripples. They try to fix them, stop them, control them. But true peace, real freedom, comes not from fixing the ripples, but from watching them. That's what awareness is, the ability to watch your thoughts without drowning in them. When you become aware, something extraordinary happens. A gap appears between you and your thoughts. You realize, I am thinking this thought, instead of I am this thought. That single shift from identification to observation changes everything. Because in that instant, you move from being the prisoner of thought to being the witness of thought.
and the witness is always free. Think of your mind like a busy marketplace. Every thought is a vendor shouting for your attention. Fear here, regret on sale, worry for free. If you walk through and buy every product, you'll end up exhausted and broke. But awareness is the one who walks through calmly, listening, watching, and buying nothing. You hear the noise, but it no longer owns you. When you watch your thoughts without reacting, you begin to see patterns. You start noticing which thoughts come again and again. You see how fear disguises itself as caution, how doubt dresses up as logic, how anger hides behind hurt. And in that seeing, the illusion weakens, because thoughts draw power from your attention. Once you stop feeding them, they begin to fade on their own. Awareness is like sunlight. Darkness cannot survive in its presence. But awareness isn't control. Don't confuse the two. You can't force awareness any more than you can force the sun to rise. You simply create the conditions for it: silence, stillness, presence, and it appears naturally. So how do you practice awareness? Start small. Observe your breathing, not to change it, but just to notice. Notice the cool air entering your nostrils, the warmth as it leaves. Notice the rise and fall of your chest. Notice the space between breaths. In that simple noticing, you're already training your mind to return home, to the present moment. The present moment is where awareness lives. It cannot live in the past, that's memory. It cannot live in the future, that's imagination. Awareness only exists now. And when you are deeply aware, the past loses its grip and the future stops frightening you. You become rooted in reality, calm, clear, unshakable. That's why every spiritual master, every teacher of truth has said the same thing in different words. Be still and know. Watch and awaken. Stay in the now. Because when you are present, thoughts no longer drag you away. They rise and fall like waves on the ocean, while you remain the ocean itself. Sometimes people ask, but how do I know if I'm truly aware? The answer is simple. When you can watch your thoughts without judging them, that's awareness. When you can see anger arise and not become angry, that's awareness. When you can observe fear without running, that's awareness. Awareness doesn't resist, it doesn't label, it simply sees. And what it sees, it transforms. Here's something profound. Awareness is not something you create, it's what you are. It's been there since the day you were born, quietly witnessing every moment, thoughts, emotions, sensations. You just forgot to look back at the one who's looking. That's why awareness feels like coming home. It's not new, it's you. Once you experience true awareness, you'll never see life the same way again. The noise of your mind may continue, but it no longer frightens you. You realize that thoughts are like passing clouds, and you are the sky behind them. And even when the storm rages, the sky remains untouched. This realization is liberation. You no longer need to control your thoughts. You simply let them pass. Like leaves floating down a river, they come and go, while you remain still, grounded, eternal. But awareness is just the beginning. It is the first key, the one that unlocks the door. Beyond it lies the next level of mastery, where you learn not only to see your thoughts, but to step outside of them completely, to become the observer. And when you become the observer, you discover a peace so deep, a silence so vast, that even your loudest fears dissolve into it. That, my friend, is the next step in this journey. In the next chapter, you will learn to master the art of detachment, to become the observer who watches without fear, who listens without being moved, who lives in absolute clarity.
Chapter 6. The Observer's Power. What if you could watch your thoughts like clouds drifting across the sky, untouched, unbothered, unbroken? What if you discovered that you were never your thoughts at all, but the silent witness behind them? There comes a moment on the path to freedom when awareness deepens, when you stop trying to fix the mind and instead step outside it. That moment is when you meet the observer. The observer is not your mind. It's not your emotions, not your fears, not even your identity. It's the still, quiet presence that simply watches. Imagine you're sitting in a theater. The screen flickers to life. Scenes play out: love, loss, triumph, failure. You might cry, laugh, feel goosebumps, but deep down, you know you're not in the movie. You're the one watching it. That is what it means to live as the observer. Your thoughts are just the movie. You are the audience. Most people spend their whole lives lost inside the film, chasing happiness, running from pain, fighting shadows that were never real. They forget they're sitting safely in the theater all along. You can feel this truth if you slow down right now. Listen to the voice in your head, the one speaking even as you listen to me. That voice might be saying, "I don't understand," or "This makes sense." But here's the secret. Who is hearing that voice? Who is aware of that thought? That who, that silent witness, is you, the timeless, observing presence that's been there since the beginning. Let's test this. Think of your favorite song. Now think of your childhood home. Now think of the word freedom. Each thought appeared and disappeared, but something stayed the same, the one who noticed them. That is the observer. It never changes, never reacts, never gets lost. It simply sees everything with total clarity. Once you begin living as the observer, your entire relationship with the mind transforms. Suddenly, you realize that thoughts no longer have the power to pull you into their chaos. Anger arises? You see it. Fear whispers? You hear it. But you no longer become it. Instead, you smile softly, like someone watching an old film they've already seen 1,000 times. This is the secret that spiritual masters, philosophers, and mystics have whispered through the ages. Buddha called it mindfulness. Krishnamurti called it choiceless awareness. Eckhart Tolle calls it presence. Different names, same truth. When you become the observer, the mind becomes your instrument, not your master. But make no mistake, this isn't easy at first. Your thoughts will fight back. They'll scream louder, desperate to pull you back into their noise. They'll say, "You can't do this," or "This won't work." Don't argue. Don't resist. Just watch. Every time you notice a thought and simply observe it without judgment, you reclaim a piece of your power. One observation at a time, the mind begins to quiet. It's like taming a wild horse. At first it kicks, resists, refuses to be led. But if you remain calm, patient, and unreactive, the horse eventually follows your lead. Your mind works the same way. The more you watch it, the less control it has over you. Here's a simple practice to strengthen the observer within you. When a strong emotion arises, anger, fear, anxiety, pause. Don't rush to react. Simply say to yourself, "Ah, anger is here. Ah, fear is visiting." Notice the language. You are no longer the anger. You are the one seeing the anger. In that shift of perspective, the emotion loses its grip. It passes through like a storm that no longer frightens you. The observer is like a mountain, tall, unmoved, watching clouds drift across its peak.
Sometimes the sky is bright, sometimes dark, sometimes hidden by fog, but the mountain remains. You are that mountain. Your thoughts are just passing weather, and when you live as the mountain, nothing can shake your peace. Something extraordinary happens when you stay in this state for long. You begin to sense a vast silence beneath everything, a silence that is not empty, but alive, vibrant, sacred. This silence is your true nature. It is what you've been searching for your entire life, the peace that cannot be taken away because it was never outside you. The more you live as the observer, the less the world can disturb you. Pain may come, but it doesn't destroy you. Success may arrive, but it doesn't define you. You become free, not because life is perfect, but because your awareness is unshakable. You understand now that peace was never about controlling your thoughts. It was about stepping back far enough to see that you were never your thoughts at all. But there's one more step ahead, because once you learn to observe your thoughts, a new question arises. If I am not my thoughts, who am I really? That question opens the doorway to something even deeper. The power to rewrite your inner script, to reshape the story your mind has been telling you since the beginning. And that is where true transformation begins. In the next chapter, you'll discover how to break free from old mental stories, to write a new script where you are not the victim of your mind, but the author of your destiny. Your thoughts will no longer define you, because you'll finally learn to define them.
Chapter 7. Rewriting the Inner Script. What if every thought, every fear, every doubt that has held you back could be rewritten, like a story you no longer wish to read? What if you could become the author of your mind instead of the victim of its endless narrative? For most of your life, your mind has been telling a story about who you are, what you can do, and what you deserve. And the problem is, much of that story was written long before you even realized it. It was written by childhood experiences, by failures, by criticism, by the voices you absorbed from the world. And over the years, you've rehearsed it so often that it feels like truth. I'm not smart enough. I always fail. I can't trust anyone. The story has been playing on repeat, and because you've identified with it, you've believed it. But here's the secret. You are not the story. You are the storyteller. Imagine your mind as a typewriter. For decades, it's been typing the same lines over and over. But now awareness has given you the ability to stop the machine. You can remove the old paper. You can begin typing a new story, one that serves you rather than limits you. Rewriting your inner script doesn't mean ignoring reality. It doesn't mean pretending nothing bad ever happened. It means choosing how you interpret it. It means deciding what meaning your mind attaches to the events of your life. Start by identifying the patterns that dominate your thinking. What stories does your mind repeat the most? Are they stories of fear, scarcity, failure? Write them down. See them clearly. Naming them is the first step to reclaiming your power. Once you see them, you can challenge them. Ask yourself, is this story really true, or have I simply believed it so long that it feels real? This is not a mental exercise. It is a transformation of identity, because your thoughts shape your emotions, your actions, and ultimately your reality. Here's a practical tool, the rewrite formula. Identify the old thought. I can't succeed at this. Observe without judgment. I notice this thought is here again. Challenge the thought. Is this absolutely true, or is it a habit of fear? Rewrite the script. I am capable of learning, growing, and succeeding step by step. Anchor the new thought. Repeat, visualize, and act as if this new story is real. Do this consistently, and you will see a profound shift. Your mind begins to serve you rather than sabotage you. The loops of fear and self-doubt weaken. Confidence begins to grow, quietly, steadily, invisibly at first, then unmistakably. Think of it like planting a garden. For years, your mind has been watering weeds, thoughts that limit and bind you. Now you're uprooting the weeds and planting seeds of possibility. Seeds like, I am enough. I can learn and adapt. My past does not define me. The process requires patience. Growth is not instant. Old weeds have deep roots, but each day you nurture the new seeds, the story of your mind changes, and so does your life. The power of rewriting your inner script lies in repetition and emotion. Your brain doesn't respond to logic alone. It responds to experience and feeling. When you speak your new story with conviction, visualize it as reality, and feel it in your body, your mind begins to accept it as truth. You're not lying to yourself. You're reprogramming the narrative that has been controlling you without your consent. Here's a key point many people miss. Rewriting your script doesn't eliminate challenges. Life will still test you. Thoughts will still arise. Old fears will whisper in your ear. But the difference is monumental. Instead of being dragged into despair, you meet challenges as a conscious author. Instead of being a passenger in your mind, you are the driver. Instead of reacting, you create. Take a moment now. Think of one recurring thought that has held you back. Observe it. Name it. Now imagine rewriting it into a thought that empowers you, motivates you, and lifts you toward growth. Notice how even imagining it feels different. Your energy shifts. Your mind begins to align with a new story, a story where fear is temporary, doubt is a signal, and you are the hero. This is the essence of transformation. Not controlling every thought, but controlling the narrative. Not eliminating the mind's noise, but directing it. Not being defined by the past, but defining the future. When you master this skill, your inner world changes and your outer world inevitably follows. You begin to act from clarity, confidence, and purpose. You notice opportunities instead of obstacles. You feel peace instead of panic. You live intentionally instead of reactively. But there is one final layer to this mastery, because rewriting the script is not enough if you are still attached to every thought, every emotion, every mental image. There is a higher level, a place beyond rewriting, where you stop creating stories altogether, a place where freedom becomes effortless. And that, my friend, is where the next chapter will take us, the energy of stillness. In the next chapter, you will discover how to access a profound stillness within your mind, a stillness so powerful it transforms not only your thoughts, but your entire life. The noise will continue, but you will remain untouched.
Chapter 8. The Energy of Stillness. What if the secret to mastering your mind wasn't thinking harder, but stopping completely? What if the most powerful energy in the universe lives not in action, but in stillness? For centuries, sages, mystics, and modern psychologists alike have pointed to one undeniable truth. The mind becomes powerful not when it races, but when it rests. When you stop chasing thoughts, stop resisting emotions, stop struggling with your inner chaos, you unlock a force that is effortless, unshakable, and infinite. This is the energy of stillness. Imagine standing beside a lake at dawn. The water is perfectly calm. The reflection of the sky is unbroken. A single leaf drifts down, creating tiny ripples, but the lake itself remains steady. That lake is your mind when it achieves stillness. The leaf is a thought. The ripples are emotions, and you, the lake, remain grounded,
peaceful, unaffected by the passing disturbances. Stillness is not absence. It is not numbness. It is vibrant presence. It is awareness fully awake, observing without interference, fully alive in the moment. When your mind is still, something remarkable happens. You stop being a slave to thought loops. You stop being dragged by emotion. You access a deep clarity that reveals solutions, insights, and possibilities that were invisible in the noise. Here's a simple way to experience it. Sit quietly. Close your eyes. Focus on your breathing, not to control it, just to observe it. Notice the rise and fall of your chest. Notice the cool air entering your nose and the warmth as it leaves. Notice the spaces between each breath. Do not fight the thoughts that appear. Do not chase them. Simply watch. With practice, you'll notice a subtle shift. The thoughts that once controlled you begin to feel lighter. The mind's constant chatter begins to slow. A space opens, a stillness, between stimulus and reaction, between thought and emotion. This stillness is powerful because it restores choice. Most suffering comes not from the external world, but from your reaction to it. When you are still, you are no longer reacting automatically. You are responding consciously. A coworker criticizes you? Observe your rising anger, breathe, and respond from clarity. A fear arises about the future? Notice it, let it pass, and move forward anyway. Anxiety or doubt? Watch it, let it drift away like smoke. Stillness does not eliminate challenges, it changes your relationship with them. It turns storms into waves, difficult, yes, but never destructive. The energy of stillness also deepens your connection to your inner self. In the quiet, you begin to hear truths that the noise of the mind often drowns out. I am more than my thoughts. I am not my fears. I am present, alive, and whole. In stillness, the observer merges with the self. The witness becomes one with the being who has always been watching. You realize the mind's chaos is not your reality. It's simply a reflection on the surface of a calm, deep ocean, your consciousness. Here's a powerful image to hold on to. Your thoughts are like sparks. Stillness is like water. When sparks touch water, they disappear. They do not vanish because they were wrong. They vanish because they are no longer needed. This is how you reclaim control over the mind, not by fighting every thought, not by rewriting every story, but by resting in a stillness so deep that thoughts no longer dominate. And here's the subtle magic. The more you practice, the more this stillness flows into daily life. Walking, talking, working, interacting, all become infused with calm. Decision-making becomes clearer. Emotions become signals instead of storms. Your energy stabilizes. You are no longer tossed about by the relentless tide of automatic thought. You have discovered the ultimate freedom, the power to remain unshaken, present, and aware in every moment, even when the world outside is chaotic. Stillness is not a destination. It is a practice. It requires patience. The mind will resist. Old patterns will return. But each time you return to stillness, you reclaim a little more power, a little more clarity, a little more freedom. And one day, the energy of stillness becomes a permanent part of your life. It becomes the foundation upon which you rebuild your mind, your actions, and your reality. From this stillness arises true mastery, not mastery over the world, but mastery over yourself. Not through force, but through presence. Not through control, but through alignment with the natural flow of awareness. This is the ultimate step in stopping your thoughts from controlling you. And yet, there is one final secret waiting beyond stillness. A step that completes the journey, where peace, awareness and mastery converge into lasting transformation. In the next chapter, you will learn how to integrate all these practices, awareness, observation, rewriting, and stillness into daily life. You will discover how to live fully, freely, and intentionally without being a prisoner to your mind ever again.
Chapter 9. Living Beyond Thought. What if every moment of your life could be lived free of mental chaos? What if you could act, speak, and create without the constant interference of doubt, fear, or self-criticism? This is the final frontier, the stage where all the work you've done so far comes together. Awareness, observation, rewriting your inner script, and the energy of stillness all converge to give you the freedom to live beyond thought. Imagine walking through your day without the voice of judgment dictating every action. You speak not from anxiety, but from clarity. You decide not from fear, but from grounded insight. You move not from habit, but from purpose. This is life beyond the loops, beyond the prison, beyond the mind's relentless chatter. The truth is simple. Thoughts are not enemies. They are tools. Like fire, they can warm you or burn you. It's all about how you relate to them. When you live beyond thought, you use them consciously. You don't ignore them, but you don't let them rule you. You notice a fear arises, and instead of reacting, you simply act from your grounded self. You feel an old anger stir, and instead of exploding, you allow it to pass. You exist in a state of flow, alert, present, fully engaged, and free. Here's a practical way to integrate this freedom into daily life. Morning awareness. Start each day with a few minutes of silent observation. Notice your thoughts and let them pass. Set the intention to live consciously. Moment-to-moment observation. Throughout the day, catch the mind's pull. Notice when old patterns arise. Pause. Return to the present. Rewrite in real time. When negative thoughts appear, consciously reframe them. Replace "I can't handle this" with "I am learning, I am capable." Anchor in stillness. Take moments to breathe deeply and return to your center. Feel your grounded energy and calmness as a constant base. Evening reflection. Before sleep, review your day. Acknowledge successes, forgive mistakes, and let the day dissolve into stillness. The more consistently you practice, the more effortless it becomes. The mind no longer needs to drag you into fear or doubt. The voice of judgment becomes background noise, irrelevant to the real you. You begin to notice the subtle beauty in life. A stranger's smile, the warmth of sunlight, the rhythm of your breath, the texture of a moment. You are fully present, alive to the richness of now. And here's the extraordinary thing. Living beyond thought is not about achieving something. It's not about perfection or success. It's about being fully present, fully aware, fully alive, regardless of circumstances. It is the ultimate freedom, the liberation from the chains of your own mind. As you integrate this state into your life, a natural transformation occurs. Decisions become effortless, emotional reactions soften, creativity flows freely, inner peace becomes your default. You are no longer a spectator to life's chaos. You are a conscious participant, fully engaged and unshakable. And yet, the journey never truly ends. Thoughts will always arise. Emotions will continue to appear. Challenges will knock at your door. But now you respond from freedom.
You act from awareness, not reaction. You move with purpose, not fear. You have become the master of your mind, the observer, the author, the still lake, the grounded mountain. You have stopped your thoughts from controlling you and discovered a life beyond the storm. Take a deep breath now. Feel the energy of your mind, calm yet vibrant, aware yet free. This is your life, fully present, fully awake, fully yours. Remember, every step of this journey, from noticing your thoughts, to breaking loops, to rewriting your story, to resting in stillness, has prepared you for this moment, living beyond thought. Your mind is no longer a prison, your inner voice no longer a dictator. You are free, you are powerful, you are awake. And every moment ahead is an opportunity to live this freedom fully.
Chapter 10. The Journey Complete. Your Mind, Your Freedom. What if everything you've learned so far could be distilled into a single truth? What if this final step could transform your practice into a lifetime of freedom and clarity? We've traveled together through the labyrinth of the mind. We explored the prison built by thought, the loops that kept you trapped, the power of awareness, the role of the observer, the art of rewriting your inner script, and the profound energy of stillness. And now, in this final chapter, we tie it all together. This is not a chapter of new techniques, it's a chapter of integration, the moment when understanding becomes living. Imagine standing on the edge of a cliff at sunrise. Below, the valley stretches wide, a mixture of shadows and light, challenges and opportunities. The wind brushes your face. You feel alive, steady, and expansive. You realize you are not the storm below. You are the observer of the storm. You are the sky that holds it all. This is the culmination of the journey. You are free, fully present, and awake. Here is the truth. Life will always bring thoughts, fear, doubt, old stories. They will return. The mind is built to chatter. But what has changed now is your relationship with it. You no longer fight. You no longer resist. You no longer identify with every passing thought. You watch, you observe, you rewrite when needed. You rest in stillness. You act with clarity. And in this way, your thoughts serve you, not the other way around. This final step is simple yet profound. Integration. Take everything you've learned and weave it into every moment of your life. When a thought arises, notice it. When a pattern repeats, observe it. When emotions surge, feel them without losing yourself. When challenges appear, act from presence, not reaction. Integration is not about perfection. It's about living consciously, moment by moment. It's about embodying the freedom you've cultivated within. Think of your mind as a river. Before, the currents carried you wherever they wanted. You struggled, resisted, and were swept away. Now, awareness is your boat. Observation is your oar. Stillness is your anchor. Rewriting your script is your map. You navigate the river with skill and grace, no longer a victim of its flow. And here's the most important truth to carry forward. Freedom from your thoughts is not a destination. It is a practice. It is a living, breathing way of engaging with your mind and your life. The moment you stop practicing, the mind's old patterns may creep back. But each time you return, each time you observe, each time you rewrite, each time you rest in stillness, your mastery grows stronger. Take a deep breath now. Feel it moving through you. Let it anchor you in the awareness you've cultivated. Feel gratitude for yourself, for taking this journey, for showing up,
for daring to reclaim your mind. Your thoughts are no longer rulers. You are the ruler. You are the witness. You are the master. This book ends here, but your journey continues. Life will test you. Challenges will arise. Old fears will return. Yet now you carry the tools to meet them with clarity, courage, and calm. Freedom is not a gift given by someone else. It is a power you awaken within yourself. Stand tall in your awareness. Walk boldly into each day, knowing that your thoughts are no longer chains, but instruments. Each moment is a choice, each decision a declaration of freedom. Let the wisdom of awareness, the clarity of observation, the strength of rewriting, and the calm of stillness guide you. Carry this truth into every interaction, every challenge, every dream. You are no longer a passenger of your mind. You are the captain. You are awake. You are alive. You are free. And the world awaits your conscious presence. The book ends here, but your life of freedom begins now. Thank you for listening, and remember, the power to master your mind is the power to master your life.